Hello, I'm Debbie Russ with the BBC News. The authorities in Iran have been making clear their determination to enforce the compulsory hijab on women, despite months of mass protests demanding an end to the restriction. A hardline MP has now issued an ultimatum to the judiciary to come up with measures to stop women flouting the rules on headscarves within the next 48 hours. Here's Sebastian Usher.
Though the mass protests have subsided on the streets, you are seeing online many photos, many videos being posted of women flouting the compulsory hijab, not wearing their headscarves, and very much trying to keep the movement going through doing this. And an MP saying that unless the deadline for the judiciary to announce the measures it's going to take to put a stop to this in a couple of weeks happens, then they will table a motion that Parliament's had for some time of its own harsh measures against this.
Ukraine's security service has detained the abbot of the country's most important monastery, the Kiev-Pechersk Lavra, on suspicion of justifying Russia's armed aggression against Ukraine. Danny Eberhardt has the latest.
The Ukrainian security service's move came after it gathered evidence from Metropolitan Pavel's public speeches. It's also published excerpts from intercepted communications. He's appeared in court, where he's denied supporting Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Meanwhile, crowds have gathered outside the Kiev-Pechersk Lavra of his supporters, but also of opponents. Today's dramatic developments form part of a wider struggle. Metropolitan Pavel belongs to a branch of the Orthodox Church in Ukraine that remained loyal to Moscow until, formally at least, cutting links with the Russian Orthodox Church soon after Russia's invasion.
Russia's defence minister, Sergei Shoigu, has promised to increase ammunition for his forces in Ukraine, following criticism over supply issues. Mr. Shoigu made the announcement surrounded by top generals.
The issue of supplying troops with lethal weapons is currently under constant control by the government and by the Ministry of Defence. Due to the expansion of production capacities and the increase in labour productivity, their production has increased manifold. All this makes it possible to fulfil the tasks set by the Commander-in-Chief in the plans for conducting the special military operation.
Syria's foreign minister is making his first visit to Egypt in 14 years in the latest move towards a full reintegration of President Assad's regime back into the Arab fold. Faiz al-Mekdad was met by his Egyptian counterpart, with the two men sharing a warm embrace. Syria was expelled from the Arab League in 2011 over the government's brutal crackdown on protests, which subsequently escalated into civil war. World News from the BBC. Security has been stepped up in parts of the eastern Indian state of Bihar following tensions between Hindus and Muslims. Vehicles and properties were damaged in clashes during religious processions marking the Hindu festival of Rama Navami. Police say more than 40 people have been taken into custody. Similar violence was reported earlier this week in the states of West Bengal, Maharashtra and Gujarat. Hindu and Muslim groups accuse each other of triggering the violence. The Pakistani army says a militant cross-border attack from Iran has killed 4 of its border patrol troops in the southwest. Reports said weapons of the 4 deceased soldiers had also been taken by the insurgents in Balochistan province. No group has yet admitted responsibility. 4 soldiers were killed in a similar incident in January. Pope Francis has been discharged from a hospital in Rome after treatment for a respiratory condition. He will now lead a Mass on Palm Sunday, a major event in the Roman Catholic Church calendar that starts the Easter week celebrations. With more details, here's our Europe correspondent, Jenny Hill.
A smiling Pope Francis leaned on a stick as he greeted well-wishers outside the Gemelli Hospital. He's been here since Wednesday, receiving antibiotic treatment for bronchitis. The Vatican said he'd resumed some work duties while still in hospital and had baptised a newborn baby, as well as sharing a pizza dinner with some of the doctors and nurses. Outside the clinic, the Pope also comforted a couple who'd lost their child overnight and signed the plaster cast of a young boy. He appeared relaxed, telling reporters that he hadn't been frightened and quipped, "I'm still alive."
Climate activists in Rome have turned the fountain at the foot of the Spanish Steps black in a protest intended to invoke the end of the world. 3 protesters poured a vegetable-based carbon liquid into the water of the 17th century Boccaccia fountain before they were arrested. That's the latest. BBC News.